Let's begin in the west of the continent, where Nigeria's Plateau State Government has declared 3 days of mourning following the tragic collapse of St. Academy School building on Friday, which resulted in the loss of lives and several injuries. A gesture of respect and remembrance, the government has ordered all flags within the state be flown at half-mast from July 13th to July 15th. Governor Caleb Mofwang, who paid visit to the scene on Saturday, extended his heartfelt condolences to the affected families and urged citizens to adhere strictly to building codes and ethics to prevent such tragedies in the future. Emphasizing safety and compliance, Governor Mofwang called for all developers and property owners to submit their building plans to the Jos Metropolitan Development Board for verification and revalidation as mandated by Executive Order 003. In addition, Governor Mofwang announced the immediate closure of St. Academy School and ordered a full investigation into the circumstances surrounding the building collapse.
Yesterday was a Black Friday for us. It was a very unfortunate incident. Like I said, it's an incident that could have been avoided with proper governance. Clearly, you can see that the building leaves a lot to be desired. Even as a layman, I could see that the building was not up to standard. Let me appreciate the people of Plateau State who rushed to the scene in their numbers. People also lent their equipment for use. This is our common humanity, that when disaster befalls any one of us, we are there for one another. We'll continue this process of engagement and comforting one another until God brings comfort to the families who lost their dear ones.
In a related development, emergency responders have blamed the use of substandard materials in the construction of building, which collapsed on Saturday in Abuja, trapping 4 residents. Though the residents were successfully rescued, the responders say the building has failed preliminary structural integrity test. Our correspondent Joshua Imarai was at the scene of the collapse, which occurred at the Kubwa area of Abuja, located at the Buari Area Council.
Tragedy struck in the early hours of Saturday in the Kubwa area of Buari Area Council, Abuja. A 3-story building originally constructed as a hotel, then converted into a hospital and finally used as a residential apartment, collapsed, trapping 4 people inside.
Early since this morning, my neighbor came to knock on the door that the building is shaking. So he said we should come outside. So when I came downstairs, I really saw the building shaking. So I went upstairs to wake my husband and my kids to come down. So immediately we just rushed down. The building collapsed. The only thing I know that is about 36 rooms, but I don't really know the actual people because some people are couples, some people are single.
At the scene of the collapse, initial responders reported that fortunately, no lives were lost.
I was one of the early people to be here with the DPO, and that was when we started looking for rescue mission on what we can do. We rescued 3 people, and they're in the general hospital here.
So far, we have been able to rescue 4 people alive. 2 people are in the hospital, others we are on hot. From the rubbles, you can see that the use of substandard materials is part of it. If you look at the rubbles very well, you see the quantity of cement and quantity of sand, the quality of iron rods, and the size.
According to authorities, the building will be sealed off while specialists conduct a structural integrity test on its remaining parts to determine its viability and ensure it's safe for occupancy. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarai.
Let's also tell you that the office of the Chief of Staff to the Emir of Kano State, Lamidu Sanusi, has confirmed that a fire incident occurred at the outer court of the palace on Saturday. The Chief of Staff to the Emir, Manir Sanusi Bayero, in a statement said there was no casualties and damage was minimal. He said investigations is ongoing to ascertain the cause of the fire and steps are being taken to prevent such incidents from happening in the future. Away from that, Nigeria's federal government has dismissed reports which claims that government has seized funding for all projects inherited by the current government and will no longer complete them. Nigeria's Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, while meeting with contractors in Abuja, says that the report misrepresented the position of the Federal Executive Council, assuring that the projects will continue to receive attention from government, especially those about 80% completed. Our correspondent, Amadine Uyi, tells us more.
Contractors handling various projects across the country. The Minister of Works expressed worry over reports misrepresenting the position of the Federal Executive Council on the completion of all inherited projects. He says many of the reports on the issue did not capture the true situation of the Council's position.
But we're also worried with the way the press had misconstrued the fair directive of FEC. And we saw on Arise television, I personally saw that FEC had directed that all inherited projects be stepped down. That is very, very misleading and is capable of, causing a serious harm, for economy. Neither the president nor FEC directed that inherited projects should be stepped down. Rather, it was Mr. President, out of his magnanimity and very exceptional, that directed that all inherited projects should be made alive through appropriation.
He adds that government is currently reviewing all inherited projects and those up to 80% completion will be given top priority.
In reviewing the inherited projects, what we are doing now is to review the projects in line with availability of funds and make proposal to FEC. If such a project has attained about 80% completion, they will make a proposal to FEC that in subsequent appropriation, money should be, made available and such projects should be made a priority so that it could be completed. And that is simply what FEC directed, and that is simply what we are going to do. The president has not stepped down all inherited projects.
The minister assured that President Bola Tinubu is working round the clock to ensure there is available funding for the projects owing to the rise of bitumen by over 1,000%, a situation that has put contractors in a difficult position. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
And now to political matters. Former Senate President Ayim Pius Ayim has left the PDP, People's Democratic Party, for the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC. He announced his defection at a township in Abakaliki during the APC local government election campaign's grand finale on Saturday. And joining him were former state and National Assembly members, former Labour Party governorship candidate Edwin Nkwegu, Senator Obinna Ogba, and thousands of supporters. They were welcomed by APC National Chairman Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje, Progressive Governors Forum Chairman Governor Hope Uzodinma, Ebonyi State Governor Francis Wifuru, Minister of Works David Umahi, and State Chairman Stanley Megan, and other party leaders. Reactions have trailed the conduct of the local government elections in Delta State, Nigeria's south-south, following low turnout of voters. Our correspondent Augustine, who monitored the exercise, tells us more.
The most anticipated local government council elections in Delta State came with a heavy downpour in the early hours of Saturday, 13th July 2024. This, however, led to the late arrival of voting materials across the state. Though the roads and streets in the state seemed not to be empty, as some residents of the state defied the restriction of movement ordered by the state government and police across the 25 local government areas of the state. There is heavy presence of security personnel on the ground to enforce law and order within the polling units and wards. Observers were equally on the field to monitor the process. At Unit 33, Osubi was 6 in Okpa local government area of the state, where Governor Sheriff Oberewori cast his votes. The turnout was quite encouraging, unlike other areas visited where there are no queues. Governor Oberewori, who affirmed faith in the transparency of the polls in the states, also spoke on the recent Supreme Court judgment on local government financial autonomy.
I believe in financial autonomy. As a former speaker, we are in the front of the issue of financial autonomy for the legislature and for the judiciary. So those judgments not affect the state. So we still believe in it. The issue is that it's for the chairman too. They should not be carried away because they are closer to the grassroots. They should see how the people can have impact.
Other polling units and wards visited, the voters described the process as peaceful.
The election will be very peaceful, though the turnout has been very low because of the downpour.
Yeah, it's going peacefully. Everywhere in Jedo land is calm.
You can see how the place is peaceful. There's no fight, there's no quarrel. Everybody is well seated.
Yeah, Jedo election has been a peaceful election since the issue of Jedo.
Meanwhile, there were reports of some polling units where elections were not held due to no voting materials and DSEC officials. Now that the elections are over, attention has shifted to the DSEC office in Asaba, where the final results of each local government will be announced by the DSEC returning officers. In Delta, for News Central, Austin, Azu.
Still on local government elections, Chairman of the Adamawa State Independent Electoral Commission, Mohammed Umaru, has expressed concern over low turnout of voters at the local government elections conducted in the state on Saturday. Umar expressed the concern shortly after inspecting some polling units in Yola South and Yola North local government areas. However, he expressed satisfaction with the peaceful conduct of the elections.
Because of the late starting of the election, the turnout was very low. But you should bear in mind that this rainy season, some people, they don't care about the election, they prefer to go to their farms. More so in the local government election, there's this notion, people have the notion that well, even if they vote, the party in power is going to win. We try to sensitize them on this to show them that this time around, we are going to do something differently.
And now to judicial matters. Justice Nnamdi Dingba of the Federal High Court in Lagos has ordered former Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, to disclose the details of the agreement between the federal government and X, formerly Twitter. The judgment considered a landmark verdict was delivered in May 2024 following a Freedom of Information suit brought by the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP. The certified true copy of the judgment was obtained last Friday. SERAP's Deputy Director, Kolawole Oluwadare, revealed in a statement on Sunday that the order was to assess whether the agreement complies with the exercise of Nigeria's human rights online. The Nigeria Bar Association section on public interest has given the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, a 7-day ultimatum to cease the issuance of the Central Motor Information System certificate. Now, this directive requires vehicle owners to register and obtain the certificate for a fee of no less than 6,000 naira. NBS Speedo questioned the legal basis for this requirement, asserting that no law grants the Nigeria Police Force the authority to issue such licenses or certificates following vehicle registration as the appropriate officers. The association demands an immediate halt to these. They urge the Inspector General of Police to issue a directive stopping the practice nationwide and call for the shutdown of the registration website and physical registration center with refunds provided to those who have already paid. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, had ordered the enforcement of the digitalized Central Motor Registry to commence by July 29, 2024. Members of family of Nkoma Ejike are currently counting their losses following the sudden death of their two daughters by their neighbor in Abriba community in Abia State. They are now struggling to save their second son, who survived the attack by the neighbor identified as Ifoma Ako. Our correspondent Chiwo Gile reports that the son was stabbed in both eyes by the woman.
Since the 23rd of June 2024, the family of Ejike have been in agony over the loss of their two daughters, while still struggling to save their hospitalized second son at the Federal Medical Center in Omahia, Abia State. It's been a tortuous and challenging period for the family of Ejike, as Comfort, mother of the minors, narrates how their neighbor in Binyom Abreba community identified as Ifomako attacked her with a knife while she was sweeping on that fateful day, which made her run out to get help. But upon return to the house, she met the unimaginable.
Before we came back with those people, that girl having get inside our room. She now jump on top of our bed and be stabbing these children with knife. We break the window, the alumako. Those people, my two children were already died.
She said the suspect, who never manifested any act of mental illness, also inflicted harm on herself.
As the girl just came inside, outside the gate, so she just used knife and stabbed herself.
Her husband, Nkuma, a carpenter, also shares how he learned about the incident.
Before they come carry me, go for the ambulance, then come open the wrapper. I can't see my children, my two daughters. All their body is full blood.
While the deceased children still lie in the mortuary, the oldest child who escaped the attack seemed confused, as the parents now desperately seek financial support to save their son from the near-death attack.
I have done one surgery for this eye now. Then the doctor and the nurse who is in charge said that they will carry and go do this one now for surgery, but the injection they demand, we don't have the money for now.
Since I could not see any of the suspect's family member to corroborate the story of mental illness, I sought a professional explanation of the allegations from a consultant psychiatrist, Dr. Chizoba Acho.
So the person's motive must be checked, and we can only get to know about that if we have to do a thorough investigation and history taking. There are people with mental problems who are not aware that they are mentally ill. You know, they have impaired judgment. They lack the capacity to reason, to think. Then there's also people who are aware that they are suffering from mental illness. You know, sometimes after they have carried out an action, they become remorseful, and that guilt can actually make them, you know, they know the consequences of what they have done and what they are going to face. So that could make them as well to take their own life.
The police public relations officer in the state, Maureen Chinaka, said police are investigating the matter.
We got the report at Abriba Divisional Headquarters on the 24th of last month. It is not being security conscious, keeping a mentally ill person around you, because those people, they are likely to have a period or a time we call lucid intervals.
Both parents have been at the hospital since the incident and are totally spent with the little they had, and may not be able to afford more payments for their child's medical bills. How then can justice be served on this unfortunate incident, and punishment for the suspect who is now late? In Omahia for News Central, Chinwe Ugele.
In a bid to tackle hunger and enhance food security, the Boro State Governor in Nigeria's northeast, Professor Babangana Zulum, has announced plans for increased investment in agriculture with the federal government. Governor Zulum made this announcement in an interview with journalists soon as he arrived at Maiduguri International Airport after spending over 1 month vacation outside the country. Our correspondent Umaru Kirawa throws more light.
The aircraft conveying Boro State Governor Professor Babangana Zulum among other personalities, landed at the Muhammadu Buhari International Airport, Maiduguri. Faced with numerous challenges of the resettlement and reconstruction of the state affected by the years of insurgency, the Chief Security Officer of Boro State reaffirmed government's commitment to prioritize welfare and safety of residents.
Very unfortunate for what has happened in Gaza. At this very important time, while we are celebrating the exit of Boko Haram insurgency in Boro State, we witnessed this series of bomb attacks, especially in Gaza. And I believe it's an act of sabotage at this time because we are looking forward to seeing how we shall resettle people back to their communities. And I think some don't like the resettlement agenda of Boro State. And I want to appeal to the people of Gaza that they should remain calm, law-abiding, and partner with the federal government and state government with a view to ensuring that IDPs are resettled back to their communities. And they are commiserated with them.
The governor highlighted the importance of agricultural development in uplifting communities affected by the insurgency and promoting sustainable livelihoods.
I want to commend the federal government. I want to commend the Hajj Commission and most especially our state team. They have done very well. For those that are complaining, I think they have to iron out and sort out themselves. But as far as I am concerned, I've given pass mark.
Governor Zulum emphasized the need for enhanced security measures and community cooperation to safeguard ongoing reconstruction efforts.
Allah, we shall get it over. Government from here up to the end of my administration will concentrate on farming, expand area to be cultivated and ensure that there is increased food production in the state. Government will provide seeds to farmers and then will partner with the federal government of Nigeria with a view to ensuring food security and food sustainability in the state.
The initiative is said to form part of the broader reconstruction, rehabilitation and resettlement program aimed at rebuilding communities and fostering economic stability in the region. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
The Lagos Leadership Conference, an annual international leadership platform that brings together leaders from all segments of society to share ideas and get fresh insight from outside and within the country, Nigeria, earlier on Friday had the 20th edition of the conference held in Victoria Island, Lagos, Nigeria. Our correspondent Bettina Unweli has details.
The overall aim of the Lagos Leadership Conference, LLC, is to contribute a quota in reducing the leadership deficit in our nation. LLC says it hopes to reform and transform individuals to great minds in their professions by partnering with finest leaders, innovators, professionals, and entrepreneurs who will share ideas with participants.
The integrity has to do with consistency. Please note the words. Consistency between what a leader says and what the leader does. That integrity is an alignment between a person's values, beliefs, words, and actions, as well as the extent to which promises are kept.
Both keynote speakers at the conference, the executive chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Olukoyede Olanipekun, and Ajori Shedere Awoshika, a leading woman in business, spoke on leading with integrity from both a corporate sector perspective as well as the public sector perspective.
So we are just established what I call the Directorate of Fraud Risk Assessment and Control. The whole directorate in the FCC now, we established about 3 months ago. We are going into the MDAs. We have over 700 of them. So we are going to go into their process for award of contract and procurement activities. And so we are examining that. The past 5 years, how many contracts have you awarded? What process did you follow? Where are the evidence of execution of this project? I've been advocating for Unexplained Wealth Act that would make me say, look, if I find you are a public servant, you retire on grade level 17, I know your pension and I know your gratuity. Now you are living in a house of 1.6 billion in Ikoyi. I will call you, sir. Explain how did you acquire this? Simple.
The Lagos Leadership Conference 2024 prides itself as being more than just an event. It positions itself as a movement towards a brighter, more sustainable future, an avenue for all and sundry to redefine leadership and shape the world we want to see. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
Youths across Africa have been tasked to be confident in showcasing their entrepreneurial talent so as to attract support and build a thriving business community on the continent dominated by young entrepreneurs. And this was during a PEIT contest in Abuja to encourage entrepreneurship among young Africans.
Micro, small and medium-sized businesses, also known as MSMEs, form the backbone of African economy, as they are considered a critical force for economic growth, job creation, and poverty alleviation. However, MSMEs in Africa are faced with numerous challenges, with access to finance a major source of worry. In supporting Goal 8 of the Sustainable Development Goals, which seeks to promote decent work and economic growth, investors and young innovators have been brought together so that they can invest in these young people.
You then can actually pick a virtual consultation with medical practitioners, either from their classroom or from their dorm room, from their hostels. And when tests are needed, they can be, a phlebotomist can be dispatched to them to pick up their sample, or they can actually be sent to a partner lab that's partnering with us.
We have been able to also document database of our cultural heritage. As Africans, we have a lot of things that we do, but it's not being captured in the right sense. But photography helps you to capture it in the right sense.
Experts here, while emphasizing the need to support young entrepreneurs across the continent through pitch competitions like this, urge young people to be innovative and confident in showcasing their entrepreneurial skills to investors.
Honestly, some of them, we wouldn't even know what they can do if they don't come out to pitch.
You just have to come out, present your business, have solid proof of concept and all that, and the government will provide funding for you.
They call for collaboration to support MSMEs with the necessary mentorship, resources, and opportunities to thrive.
If these individuals or organizations are interested in partnering with organizations like this, it would make the job easier. It would help us impact more people.
The respective governments of each nation should do more to empower, because trust me, there are so many bright individuals. It's just that we cap them at 20.
Acknowledging the efforts of various governments across Africa in supporting startups, some of the entrepreneurs here are calling for enabling policies that guarantee a friendly business ecosystem. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idonk Joseph.
Thank you for staying with us. And still in the west of the continent, Niger's army says it has recaptured a large number of detainees who escaped from a high-security prison near the capital Niamey, and that 3 of the dozens of escapees had been killed. Recall that a jailbreak occurred on Thursday at the Koutoukale prison that houses many jihadist insurgents, which have targeted the West African nation for years. In a statement, the army said a mutiny broke out at the prison, with several dozens of inmates taking advantage of the situation to escape. The army also expressed gratitude for the swing action on security, saying researches are on the way to find the remaining escapees in the populated area around the Niger River. Senegal's President Bassirou Diomaye Faye has expressed his willingness to address the issue of the French military presence in his country with serenity and without brutal ruptures. In an interview with Senegalese media, President Faye emphasized the importance of maintaining a calm and measured approach to the discussions. He also acknowledged the challenges facing the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, following the departure of 3 of its members. In the east of the continent, Kenyan police say they have found more bags filled with dismembered female body parts in the grisly discovered at a rubbish dump that has horrified and angered the country. According to officials, detectives have been scouring the sites in the Nairobi slum of Mukuru since the mutilated corpses of at least 6 women were found on Friday in sacks floating in a sea of garbage. Directorate of Criminal Investigation said on Saturday that another 5 bags have been retrieved from the abandoned quarry, 3 of them containing female body parts, including severed legs and 2 torsos. In a statement, the Directorate reassured the public that inquiries would be exhaustive and encompass a broad spectrum of topics, including but not restricted to potential cultist activity and serial killings. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump has been wounded in the right ear in an assassination attempt during the campaign rally in Pennsylvania. The attack has drawn widespread condemnation from world leaders. The former president was quickly rushed off stage with blood streaking across his face after the shooting occurred at Butler City on Saturday. Tragically, both the suspected shooter and a rally attendee were killed, while 2 spectators were critically injured. Displaying his characteristics defiance, Trump raised his fist to the crowd as he was escorted to safety. In a press conference, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, confirmed that the incident is being treated as an assassination attempt. The FBI identified 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks as a subject involved in the attempt, according to a statement released on Sunday. In response to the recent assassination attempt on his election rival, Donald Trump, U.S. President Joe Biden has issued a strong condemnation. Trump was wounded in a shooting incident at a rally in Pennsylvania, which has also reportedly resulted in the death of at least 1 bystander. And speaking to reporters during an emergency briefing in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, President Biden declared that there is no place in America for such violence. He emphasized that this incident underscores the need for national unity.
Thanks for coming, folks. I've been thoroughly briefed by all the agencies in the federal government as to the situation, based on what we know now. I have tried to get a hold of Donald. He's with his doctors. Apparently he's doing well. I plan on talking to them shortly, I hope, when I get back to the telephone. Look, there's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this. And I want to thank the Secret Service and all the agencies, including the state agencies, that have been engaged in making sure that the people, and we have more detail.
And for more on this, I am joined by our international correspondent, Afia Hagen. Afia, how do you think this incident, this assassination attempt on Donald Trump will impact the politics in the United States?
Well, this is a country in the United States that is completely polarized, but also heavily armed. You know, they're at a point where they are polar opposites, the Republicans and the Democrats. And in this election cycle, I think actually this is going to polarize the 2 parties and the supporters of the 2 parties even more. I mean, in the hour after this assassination attempt took place, you had billboards in Pennsylvania saying the Democrats attempted to assassinate Donald Trump and pray for Donald Trump. So there's already this kind of polarization, like I mentioned, Republicans blaming Democrats for what has happened, for this political violence. There's no doubt that the polarization in the United States is probably partly responsible for what has happened to Donald Trump. But this is a country, like I said, who is heavily armed. You have had 4 United States presidents who have been assassinated in the past. Now, the impact that this will have on the campaign, security will be stepped up, absolutely. We have the Republican National Congress starting tomorrow in Milwaukee, and of course Donald Trump will be attending. It's slated that he still will be there, but you can bet that security will be upped for that event. It's been upped around the White House as well and around President Biden. But this is going to make an already polarized election cycle even more polarized than it already was.
Now, looking at it from a global perspective, what does this attempt on Trump's life signify about global perspectives on U.S. politics?
Look, US politics for a long time has been about just these two parties, the Democrats and the Republicans. And from the outside looking in, it looks like the United States is falling victim to political violence. And that's not what anybody wants to see, but especially from the country that touts itself and is touted around the world as the leader of the free world. The President of the United States is the leader of the free world, so to speak. And so for the United States to be going down this path, where you have a presidential nominee shot at a rally, shows that the United States is not going down a path that it wants to. That actually countries around the world, including the United Kingdom and Europe, need to better prepare themselves for a scenario in which the United States is no longer the leader of the free world. This is a real challenge to the United States' place on the global stage. Donald Trump was that already and really sort of reduced the United States' stance on the global stage. But this assassination attempt will do that even more.
I know you talked about this incident polarizing the election, coming up in US, but then beyond that, when it comes to turnout, security-wise, what do we envisage in terms of these incidents?
This is going to galvanize Trump reporters. That much you can be absolutely sure of. Anybody who perhaps was thinking about voting for Trump probably will be a huge Trump supporter now. People will be thinking that this has bolstered him, and he will absolutely use this as an opportunity to bolster who he is and his stance in this election. He's already running under the headline of "the Democrats don't want me to win. They've tried to put me in prison." He's a convicted criminal that won't accept his conviction because he believes it's all set up by the Democrats. Now, he won't come out and say explicitly, I don't think, that the Democrats are responsible for this assassination, but he will try and lay the blame at their door. And so he will use this to galvanize his position in the election, to galvanize his support, to raise more money for himself in his campaign. Donald Trump is a producer. He knows how to turn out good content and also turn a bad situation into good. So you can more than guarantee that this will galvanize the Trump base more so than it ever has.
Just before we let you go, how would you assess President Biden's response to this attack? And how does it reflect on his regime's stance on political violence and also national unity?
Well, President Biden did the right thing by calling for national unity and also for denouncing this act of violence, saying that it's sick and it has no place in America. But this is an America that hasn't done anything about its gun laws that leads to its nation being heavily armed. So President Biden's response has been the correct one. I understand that he has now spoken to Donald Trump and spoke to him after this assassination attempt. His response was measured. It was correct. It's the only response he could have given. Now people will have the conversation about gun violence in America yet again, and you can guarantee that nothing will be done to change those laws, because that amendment, the right to bear arms, is so ingrained in who you are as an American that it's not something that they will ever be able to repeal or, in fact, curb, because the gun lobby are so powerful and, of course, are so heavily supportive of the Republican Party.
All right, thank you so much for bringing context to this, Afia Hagen, our international correspondent. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has slashed Botswana's 2024 growth forecast to 1%, from earlier April estimate of 3.6%, due mainly to lower diamond production, it said in a statement. The budget deficit is also expected to widen to 6% from 3.45% due to a fall in mineral revenue, according to the IMF, urging the diamond-rich southern African country to consider slowing down new infrastructure projects to help the economy. Lower consumer demand and global economic weakness have lowered the demand outlook for diamonds, traditionally seen as luxurious items. In February, Finance Minister Peggy Serame projected the economy would grow by 4.2%, but a few months later, the central bank warned this target was unlikely to be attained due to continued headwinds in the global diamond market. In sport, AS Saint Etienne has officially completed the transfer of Ghanaian midfielder Augustine from Wolfsburg AC. Boche, a 23-year-old forward, has established himself in the Australian Bundesliga, scoring 10 goals and providing 6 assists in 27 appearances this season. The acquisition of Boche reflects Saint Etienne's proactive approach to strengthening their squad following their return to the French top division. Now, this move to Saint Etienne presents a significant opportunity for Boche to showcase his skills in an elite league, and with his talent and experience, he's expected to make a valuable contribution to his new team. He becomes the club's 4th signing this summer after Yunus Abdul Hamid, Ben Old, and Zurikoria Davishtafili. Uruguay beats Canada on penalties in the Copa America third-place playoff match after Luis Suarez scored a late equalizer in a 2-2 draw at the Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina. Rodrigo Bentancur also scored a regulated time for Uruguay, while Jonathan David and Ismail Cone scored for Canada, who finished 4th in their Copa America debut. Canada's Ismail Cone had a tame spot kick saved by goalkeeper Sergio Roche, and Canadian defender Alfonso Davis hit the crossbar as Uruguay won the shootout 4-3. Uruguay boss Marcelo Bielsa felt his side barely deserved to make it to the shootout and felt they underperformed in the tournament as a whole. Canada boss Jesse Marsh praised the overall performance of his side as they use the tournament as a stepping stone to the 2026 World Cup, which they are co-hosting with the United States and Mexico. And that's all on this. But before we go, let's take a look again at some of the major stories. Plateau State Government declares 3 days of mourning for victims of school building collapse. Police in Kenya have discovered more female body parts at Nairobi garbage dump. President Biden condemns attack on rival Trump, calls for unity. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen and do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Adebola Adedugba. It's bye for now.